Hello, this is Jeff from baronleathercraft, and today we are going to be exploring the ACMER, I pronounce it ACMER 100W MOPA Fiber Laser, which is currently ACMER's flagship fiber laser marking machine. As I'm saying this, you're watching the unboxing on the screen. I just wanted to give you an idea on how it was packaged and a quick glimpse of what's included. For this review, we're putting the ACMER 100W MOPA Fiber Laser to work on a variety of materials, solid brass coins and bottle openers, a black powder-coated stainless steel flask, anodized aluminum business cards, and a brass guitar pick engraved with a shallow depth map. And we'll also run a few color marking tests. We're also going to be doing some tin boxes and some slate as well. We'll start off by sharing some information with you about the machine, and then we're going to go ahead and run it through its motions. Alright, let's do this. What's in the box? This is everything that came in the box. If you want to pause and check it out, go for it. I'm not going to waste your time going over each piece because it's all pretty standard stuff. One thing on here you might not be familiar with are the positioning bars. These bars are used to lock in your material to a specific region of the work surface to help keep your material aligned with the laser. One thing that isn't shown on this list though is the foot switch. It lets me position the material using the red framing laser, and once everything looks lined up, I don't have to walk back over to the computer to start the job. This machine is advertised with a maximum marking speed of 15,000 millimeters per second, which is certainly impressive. Speeds like that can be useful for certain tasks, like quickly marking serial numbers on anodized aluminum, plastic, or other production items. But when it comes to engraving, fiber lasers are really about optimizing quality. It's more of a balancing act between speed, power, frequency, and the material you're working with to get the best results. Setting up the machine was quite easy actually. Take the wiring harness from the tower and connect it to the Wago connector of the main body. Run that wire into the machine, then go ahead and grab your screws and mount the tower to the machine. After you do that, go ahead and grab the laser Galvo head assembly and mount that to the tower, and you're done. I did have a friend hold on to the Galvo head to stabilize it to make it easy to screw in. This machine also comes with autofocus. Just place your material under the single red dot where the autofocus position is marked, hit the autofocus button. As the head adjusts, the two guide lasers will converge into a single point when the machine reaches the correct focus. You can also focus the machine manually. You can do that electronically using the up and down focus buttons, or you can adjust it directly with the focus knob on the top of the machine. For this setup, with the 300mm lens installed, the correct focus height is 38.9 centimeters. On the side of the machine there's a power button and an emergency stop switch. To connect the machine to LightBurn, you can import the configuration file that comes on the supplied USB stick. ACMER told me their R&D team is preparing an official LightBurn device profile, which should simplify the process even further in the future. After importing the configuration file, it's important to remember that every Galvo system is individually calibrated at the factory. On the side of the machine, you'll find a calibration plate that lists the specific values of your scanner. Those numbers are unique to your machine. Once everything is connected in LightBurn, it's always a good idea to run LightBurn's built-in calibration tools to make sure everything is properly dialed in. Alright, let's have some fun and jump into some engraving. Let's start with anodized aluminum. I went with the speed of 3200 millimeters a minute, and I went with 18% power. And the frequency is 60 and the Q pulse is 200. Most people start by looking for settings that match their machine and material. That's a good starting point, but the real key is learning your machine and dialing it in from there. For the anodized aluminum, I went with raster images, except for the text. They're a little bit more difficult to dial in, and that's why I wanted to see what would happen. These are anodized aluminum dog tags, and I used a speed of 2200 millimeters a second on this. This is a vector image. As you see here, when I did the raster image, I sped it up a little. I used 3200 millimeters a second. All the other settings are the same. It came out really nice. I was happy with this. Here's some tin boxes. They do pretty well when I'm out vending. Anyway, I decided on 2000 millimeters a second and 45% power. When I first started making these boxes, I couldn't find anyone engraving on tin with a fiber laser, so I had to start from scratch. And that's how you learn. Now we're engraving slate. I love engraving slate, it's so much fun, no matter what kind of laser I'm using. But I prefer to use a fiber laser, that's most definite. This coaster usually takes me about 15 minutes to 18 minutes on a diode laser. Now it takes me about 2 to 2.5 minutes with the fiber laser. That's a lot of time saved. Plus the detail just looks fantastic. Now we're engraving some brass coins. This is one of the things I've noticed people really love to create with fiber lasers. I know I do. This particular depth map design was created by Victor Walensky. If you're new to fiber lasers and you're planning on making coins, here's something important to understand. No matter how dialed in your machine is, your engraving will only be as good as the depth map you feed it. The laser can only translate the information that's in that image. If the depth map is good, the results can be incredible. If it isn't, even the best laser in the world can't fix it. The best case scenario, you have an excellent depth map and you have all your settings dialed in perfectly. For this brass bottle opener, I used the same settings that I used for the coin. This is what it looks like right after engraving. I also applied a chemical called brass black, which creates a really nice patina. I would have loved to show you the finished piece, but over the weekend I actually sold this while I was vending at an event, so I didn't get a chance to film it after the patina was applied. These guitar picks do really well when I'm out vending. I use the same settings to engrave them as I do with the coins. The only difference is I do less passes. I do 100 passes instead of 512. Now I'm cutting out the guitar pick. This 100-watt laser goes through this 0.5 metal really easily. If you're planning on getting a fiber laser because you're excited about color marking, one thing to keep in mind is that the material you use makes a big difference. Not all metals respond the same way, and even different alloys or surface finishes can change how well the colors develop. Stainless steel like 304 or 316 often respond well, and with brass you usually get more predictable results using good quality engraving brass than the regular mystery metal from the bargain bin. Another thing to understand is that color marking involves a lot of experimentation. Most likely, like everyone else, you'll start running around the internet looking for other people's settings, and you'll probably discover that some folks guard their color marking settings like a secret recipe or some kind of magical witch's brew. The truth is, those settings usually won't translate directly to your machine anyway. Every fiber laser behaves a little differently, and the material you're using plays a big role as well. Other people's settings can give you a useful starting point, but at the end of the day, you'll need to spend some time experimenting and dialing things in for yourself. So to wrap things up, I have to say this machine performed very well in my testing. With fiber lasers, once the machine is properly built and set up, the real work usually comes down to dialing in your settings and understanding the materials you're engraving. In this video, I showed you the setup process, did a quick unboxing, and ran a number of tests so you could see the results and the settings I used. Overall, the machine was stable, responsive, and produced excellent results on the materials I worked with. From engraving to color marking, it did exactly what I hoped it would do. If you're considering a machine like this, it's certainly one that I would take a look at if you're really looking to buy a fiber laser. And I have to say, whoever did design this thing did an excellent job. I think this is probably the fiber laser Darth Vader would pick, if he needed one. Although, to be fair, he already has the Death Star. That's a pretty powerful fiber laser. I wonder if it is a fiber laser. I don't know, it's pretty powerful. He can engrave planets.